Hello fans, welcome to Man Utd Transfer HQ. Stay updated with the latest transfer gossip and breaking news.
Today news. Manchester United will be in the market for a striker come the summer, and Viktor Gyokeres is likely to be their prime target, with Sporting Lisbon braced for offers. The defeat to Crystal Palace on Sunday was bad enough, but it also included a serious injury to Lisandro Martinez, which will rule him out for months. After that, Ruben Amorim failed to land any deadline day signings, which was always set to be the case. It means those at Old Trafford will have to make do with what they've got as they aim to avoid surpassing last season's worst-ever Premier League finish. The lack of a prolific frontman has long been cited as an issue, whilst Amorim is largely working without any natural wingbacks, although he did land the signing of Patrick Dorgu late in the window. We take a look at the transfer news coming out of Manchester ahead of what could be a defining summer. Sporting Lisbon's Viktor Gyokeres is likely to be top of United's shopping list as they look to reunite the frontman with Amorim. Gyokeres proved to be an inspired signing when he moved to Portugal and is now one of Europe's most prolific forwards. He scored a hat-trick against Manchester City several months ago, and according to iNews, the Lisbon outfit would be willing to part ways with their star striker for around £60 million. Sporting have shown that they will sell their top talent for the right price. Amorim saw a number of his best players leave during his tenure, and the club may yet see their former manager return for their prized asset. Harry Kane will have his release clause activated next January, which means a club could bring him back to England in a cut-price deal. The striker was heavily linked with a move to Manchester before he eventually opted to join Bayern Munich. Any club could have triggered a release clause in the January transfer window that would have allowed him to leave the Allianz Arena for around €80 million. £67 million. Luiz was linked with City in the January window, the club where he used to play before moving to Villa, and the Daily Mail report that United are also admirers of the Brazilian, who was a standout when Villa finished in the top four. Last season, Juventus boss Thiago Motta has continued to give Luiz his public support, but internally there have been discussions about a potential exit. They couldn't achieve that last month and may try again in the summer. Whilst that deadline has now passed, another release clause will be valid in 12 months' time, at an even more reduced rate, with Bild reporting it will be as low as €65 million, £54 million. It is understood that Tottenham have first refusal if he does leave the German club, but United could certainly be in the race. Those on the red half of Manchester are interested in a move for Juventus midfielder Douglas Luiz. Don't miss out on all the latest updates. Subscribe for more Man United transfer news. Our second news is, Ruben Amorim insists Marcus Rashford left him no option but to axe him from Man United. Marcus Rashford has departed Manchester United for Aston Villa on loan after falling completely out of favour under new boss Ruben Amorim, who stresses he just couldn't get the striker on the same page. Ruben Amorim says he had no option but to offload Marcus Rashford after failing to get through to the forward about the need to train properly. Manchester United forward Rashford has gone on loan to Aston Villa until the end of the season, after Amorim conceded defeat in his efforts to change the forward. Despite United struggling for goals this season, Amorim said he was left with no alternative but to jettison England star Rashford for the good of the team going forward. "What I say is I couldn't get Marcus to see the way you're supposed to play football and to train the way I see it," said Amorim. "Sometimes you have one player who is really good with one coach, and the same player with another coach is different. I just wish the best to Rashford and Unai Emery and hope they can connect, because he's a very good player. Thankfully, Marcus is in Birmingham now with Unai, so you can take these questions to another coach. We're just focused on our players. Some of the guys don't adapt to the way I see football, the other guys adapt, and we're trying to build the team. It's something you feel, as a coach and a player. It's quite normal. It happened with a lot of coaches. The important thing is that I'm here, saying it was my decision." When Amorim looks across at the opposing technical area at Old Trafford on Friday night, he will see one of the most prolific goalscorers in United's history. Leicester boss Ruud van Nistelrooy bagged 150 goals in 5 seasons at Old Trafford. What wouldn't Amorim give for a striker of his prowess right now? Instead, he has an inexperienced forward line comprising Ramses Højlund, Joshua Zirkzee, Alejandro Garnacho, and Ahmad, with just 14 Premier League goals between them this season. The decision to offload Rashford may have been the best for both parties, but United did not replace him and have no striker anywhere near Van Nistelrooy in his prime. Van Nistelrooy took interim charge of United for 4 games before Amorim arrived on November 11th, winning 3 and drawing 1. Despite that impressive record and his cult status among United fans, Amorim chose not to keep Van Nistelrooy on, bringing with him his team from Sporting Lisbon. Ruben Amorim insists Marcus Rashford left him no option but to axe him from Man United. Marcus Rashford has departed Manchester United for Aston Villa on loan after falling completely out of favor under new boss Ruben Amorim, who stresses he just couldn't get the striker on the same page. Don't miss out on all the latest updates. Subscribe for more Man United transfer news. Our third news is Man United now ready to take huge £30 million plus loss on star Amorim doesn't rate. Ruben Amorim is now ready to brutally axe one member of the Manchester United squad for a massive loss this summer, according to a fresh report, as he looks to put his mark on the Red Devils. It was a relatively busy January transfer window for Manchester United, but it was largely outgoings that dominated the headlines. The Premier League giants, who currently sit 13th in the top flight, sent a trio of first-team players out on loan as they look to trim their squad and their wage bill for the second half of the campaign. Marcus Rashford joined Aston Villa for the remainder of the season in a deal that sees the Midlands outfit pay 75% of his hefty wages, which could rise to 90% based on performances. Unai Emery's side also have an option to buy the forward at the end of the season for £40 million should he impress in claret and blue. Meanwhile, Antony's agonizing Old Trafford stay was also finally ended, with the club's £86 million signing leaving to join Real Betis on loan, and the Spanish side allegedly also paying a massive 84% of his wages during his time away from the Theatre of Dreams, with the duo's exits saving the club significant funds. These savings, in turn, helped the Red Devils move to sign Patrick Dorgu from Lecce, with the flying wingback arriving in a deal worth an initial £25 million, which could rise to £30 million. A move that in turn allowed Tyrell Malacia to leave Old Trafford on loan. Now, Amorim is reportedly ready to cash in on one of Erik ten Hag's signings as he looks to find money to continue to make his mark at Manchester United. That is according to a fresh report from Team Talk, who point to Rasmus Højlund as the player in question. The Dane arrived in Manchester from Atlanta with a hefty reputation as one of the most promising young strikers around, something which persuaded the Red Devils to shell out £72 million, including add-ons, to bring him to Old Trafford. However, he has only shown glimpses of his potential, and has struggled under Amorim since his arrival at the club in November, with the ex-Sporting coach opting to play midfielder Kobbie Mainoo as the number 9 in Højlund's place in their most recent Premier League outing. I really like him. That's 6 games on the spin now scoring goals. I've loved his attitude. It's been really tough for him at times, but he's stuck at it. He's been patient and now he's getting his rewards, he explained after he scored twice against Luton Town. His second goal was instinctive. I mean his reaction. You have got a split second to think about things there. The ball has come at him with pace, and then to twist your body and guide it in. It's an incredible and very clever finish. What are your thoughts on these updates? Comment below and subscribe for more Man United transfer news. Today last news, Ineos could do a deal with Sheikh Jassim allies, as Man United's £2 billion stadium masterplan explained. Man United are edging forward with their plans to build a 100,000-seater stadium that when finished will likely be among the best and most lucrative. But at £2 to £3 billion, who is going to pay for it? We can probably rule out one name from the get-go. The Glazer family, who sold Sir Jim Ratcliffe nearly 28% of the club almost exactly 1 year ago, have never been interested in United's infrastructure. The Glazers have reaped almost £450 million in dividends since they took over the club via a leverage buyout in 2005, which incidentally makes them the second longest-serving owners in the Premier League. United have spent a fraction of that on infrastructure over the same period, with the Glazers only willing to eat into their dividends unless Carrington or Old Trafford are, quite literally, falling apart. Even then, it came out of the club's purse, not their own. One segment of both the Project Big Picture and European Super League proposals co-authored by the Glazers, copies of which have been seen by UIF, would have seen clubs pay into a central infrastructure pot. Yes, that means they effectively wanted rival clubs to cover the costs of their own negligence. To an extent, the owners' chickens have come home to roost as the sorely needed upgrades to the stadium and training ground meant the market balked at their £6 billion valuation of the club in 2023. That meant Ineos and Ratcliffe were brought in as minority equity partners. And for all their faults and missteps, they have shown far more interest in giving the club what it needs to be successful again. Unfortunately for United fans who have been asked to shoulder the burden in terms of ticket prices, it will be many years before Ratcliffe's ambitions for Old Trafford bear fruit. Getting sign-off from the relevant regulator bodies will be a glacial process, as will construction itself. However, arriving at a suitable funding structure could be just as complex and laborious. If they contribute fanatically at all, it will be for the redevelopment of the external infrastructure needed to facilitate the sprawling stadium complex, public transport links, roads, etc. A cursory Google search, meanwhile, will tell you that Ratcliffe's personal fortune is around £25 billion, but most of that is illiquid. In other words, he doesn't have £2 to £3 billion in cash down the back of his sofa. Bonds and debentures, which have historically been used by the likes of Arsenal to fund stadium projects, are no longer a common financing model for capital expenditure projects in football. Don't miss out on all the latest updates. Subscribe for more Man United transfer news.